Hello and welcome to Too Weird Didn't Watch, the show where we make fun of movies that we have not seen based on nothing but their very weird descriptions. I am Albert, and I am alone for this intro because this is part 2 of our deep dive into the Mihmiverse, the many films of Christopher Mihm. In the time that we've had in between recording this episode and the time that I'm working on this to release it, I've had a little bit of time to watch these movies. And I watched the first one, Monster of Phantom Lake, From Phantom Lake, whatever it's called. That one was okay, but had way too much padding for my taste. As you might expect from a movie with no budget, it's basically 3 locations, and they are all the woods. I moved on forward to the Cave Women on Mars, which I found essentially insufferable, and have not tried to go back to it to see if it was worthwhile. However, it did reconnect me to a piece of music that I have been looking for since my childhood, Franz Liszt's Les Preludes, which pops up a lot in the old Flash Gordon series, and he's obviously emulating that. I have had that piece of music in my head for my entire adult life and did not know what it was called or where to find it. And I'm so glad that I was finally able to hunt it down thanks to this relatively terrible movie. Thank you, Christopher Mihm. Anyway, with that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and let's just dive right into it. Part 2 of the Mihmiverse.
Next, we have House of Ghosts from 2012, which is the first kind of supernatural title.
Yeah, I like the sort of progression through different genres.
Mm-hmm.
If he's gonna do this pastiche thing, which I've already sort of made myself my position clear on, at least he's working his way through different stuff. And I also like the time constraint thing, where he's it's like, well, gotta make a new one this year, and just sort of churning it out.
Mm-hmm.
There's something I have a lot of respect for that. That's how real artists work. You don't get to like, oh, don't feel it this year. I don't really feel like making another B-movie pastiche. You're Christopher Mihm, you gotta crank it out! Make one!
Created specifically as an homage to the films of William Castle, particularly House of Haunted Hill from 1959. The film centers upon a group of rich weirdos in Phantom Lake, Wisconsin, who are attending a dinner party on the night of a severe snowstorm.
Okay, so I like people locked in during a storm type stories. I don't know why. It's kind of a neat... You can obviously make your movie on the cheap somewhat with it, but if you can get some good shots of whatever the encroaching natural disaster is, and in this case I assume Mr. Christopher Mihm does in fact have some shots of snow that he has access to in Wisconsin, you can really get that sort of nature is, threatening, but it's sort of held at bay. It's a great dynamic.
The host and hostess hire a medium to act as the evening's entertainment, promising to open a portal to the great beyond.
I don't know if I would hire that medium. I just, if you have the medium that says they're going to open a portal to the great beyond, and a medium that just says, I'll read your palm and tell you your future, I wouldn't even know what to expect from the portal from the great beyond.
But Al, you're not a rich weirdo from Wisconsin.
I guess. I'm not. That's true.
Particularly around Phantom Lake where just weird stuff happens. So your expectation's a little high on the weird level.
Yeah, maybe that's right. Maybe they're, did you hear last year about that guy that got infested by a space king? Well, I wish that had happened to me.
I just had to deal with a bad creature and got paralyzed. Boo. But what had seemed an interesting diversion becomes all too real. Soon the ghosts of the past are haunting the guests as dark secrets are revealed, and it seems uncertain who may survive the night without dying of fright.
This reminds me of that anthology movie we talked about. I forget who presented it, but where there was a bunch of different stories that everybody told about. They're like, I had a dream of this happening. Does this ring a bell for you at all?
Yes.
I don't know why maybe that's what he's actually paying homage to or something like that. I really enjoy the idea of everybody's past being slowly revealed, and everybody's got some kind of like gross thing in their past, similar to the first Saw movie, where
Right.
you have your initial setup, and then as you go forward, you find out more and more about the people who are in the situation, and they're sort of the skeletons in their closet.
Are you familiar with Castle, by the way? William Castle?
William Castle, I am not. I've actually pulled up some IMDb stuff here to follow along. I don't know if that's a good idea, actually. Initially, I just wanted to see the pictures from the plant zombies. I think I'm going to hold off a little bit on looking at the description with you.
So William Castle's whole deal was he would do gimmicks for his movies in theaters. He was the guy who had,
was he the guy that had the skeleton? Yeah.
So like many of Castle's movies, this movie is based around a fourth wall breaking gimmick. Those who attend a live screening will be presented with a fear shield they can hold before their face to prevent them from having the soul sucked out of their bodies by the vengeful spirits awoken by the scariest parts of the movie. Those who don't have a fear shield can use a box of candy or popcorn container instead. That's actually a description. I love that.
I think that is really great. I wish that there was more stuff like that. You definitely get it when you have a local presence of some kind. I don't know of anybody, in like Milton, Florida, who's making films where I can go and watch what they're doing. But that's a neat type of an audience participation thing that you don't get from like Avengers Endgame so much.
No, but you do get them at Disney World with their like 4D movies where you'll get like sprayed in the face with like water. In particular, they had a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids one.
Yeah.
And he like multiplies a bunch of rats, and like the little bumps will come out of the seat to make it feel like rats are running up behind you.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it was cool.
What do we got next?
Next, we have The Giant Spider from 2013.
All right. Oh man, he's getting more ambitious. What's the? There is another. Wait, he's Wisconsin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this based on Giant Spider Invasion, which is also filmed in Wisconsin?
I think this is based on the fact that there were a bunch of giant bug movies from the 50s.
No, okay, but there's like...
Including a Giant Spider one.
Okay, but Giant Spider Invasion is specifically famous for being from Wisconsin. It's actually filmed in 1975. I went to see the riff tracks live of Giant Spider Invasion. They got together because riff tracks are the guys from MST3K. So there's an MST3K movie of Giant Spider Invasion, and they got the riff tracks people to do it. I'm betting that this is him saying, well, I could do a terrible Giant Spider movie also. I'm from Wisconsin. Maybe I wonder if he has some of the same props.
Just bottom out of a garage sale.
Yeah, I can stick some legs on a Volkswagen Beetle.
In line with each other that he pops into every couple of movies, and then he just does his own thing in between.
Okay.
Just setting the town. That's what it feels like. Anyways, the movie opens with Danny Johnson, who was the little boy from that movie, playing in the woods where he spots the giant spider.
How giant is the spider? Like dog-sized?
It does not say. He reports this to his stepmother, Rosemary, who contacts the authorities. This brings in Dr. Edwards and Dr. Gabriel from Attack of the Moon Zombies, along with their associate Dr. Hackett, who act as scientific advisors to General Castle from House of the Ghosts. So now things are starting to cross together.
Was Attack of the Moon Zombies a 1950s joint?
Yeah, that was Dr. Edwards, who's been
so
in the 50s.
they were just on the moon in the 1950s, and then
it said 20 years after that, so I think this is like the 70s.
So this is the little boy from the cave all grown up now.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
a little bit older, not fully all grown up, because, telling his stepmom. It's not like a 20-year-old be like, hey, stepmom, saw a weird spider.
Well, to be fair, if it was a little kid, the stepmom would be like, shut up about your big spider. So, I don't know. I was actually going to comment when you first said it. It's like, usually in these stories, when the kid tells the grown-up about the giant thing that they saw, the grown-up's like, shut up and eat your macaroni for dinner so you can go to bed.
Yeah, but Rosemary was the niece of one of the scientists who already dealt with the crazy thing. I actually think she was the niece who dealt with the bat.
Okay. I am having an awful time keeping all these track of all these, but it is delightful that there's so much crossover.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this town is so weird that it's like he saw a giant spider, and they're like, just in case, we're going to tell the scientists.
Yeah.
Naturally, it falls to science, which is an all caps and exclamation point, to save the day when the might of the American military proves less than effective.
Science! Oh, science here, boy! Science! Science is the name of my dog. You understand.
Spelled all caps with an exclamation point.
Because I'm always yelling at him for chewing up the furniture. Science! Science! Stop humping the man!
Thankfully,
down, science!
Intrepid reporter Howard Johnson is on hand to help the scientists put their plan into action when General Castle proves less than receptive to a solution that doesn't involve dropping a nuke on the giant spider.
Well, if he wants to drop a nuke on it, it better be giant.
Yeah.
It seems like
it's the size of a Doberman.
Nuke it! Sir, we think we could just use a bazooka. Nukes!
This town's already irradiated. Have you been to the caves?
We've got so many nukes here. Nobody will let me blow anything up. My wife said she saw a big spider.
Alright, up next we have The Late Night double feature from 2014.
Alright. This is getting a little meta.
This film was made up of two smaller features. X, The Fiend from Beyond Space, and The Wall People.
So this is the, him doing both sides of the grindhouse thing that, Robert Rodriguez and, Quentin Tarantino did in, the mid-2000s, I want to say?
Yes.
Okay. I gotta say, everybody should go and look at the posters for these, at least, because they're pretty delightful. If nothing else, the posters are good.
Alright, so X, The Fiend from Beyond Space, is set after the events of Attack of the Moon Zombies and features Captain Herman Freshley leading a decades-long mission to Alpha Centauri. Started in the year 1981. The far future of 1981.
But it's still exactly the same set as every other spaceship and, whatever. What would you, space station
switch
interior.
Blinking panels around, it's fine.
Oh, no, this is not, I'm sorry if this sounds like I'm, being, snarky, but that's just what I envision.
It's on the UESPA spaceship Endeavour. No idea what that acronym stands for.
Well, we gotta watch the movie to find out.
The crew emerges from cryogenic suspension 10 years too early to find themselves in orbit around a dead rogue planet in the year 2014. Finding the corpse of a seemingly dead alien on the planet's surface, the crew brings the body on board, only to discover the creature is not quite dead. And hungry.
Okay. I like this. This is a sort of an alien. He's doing Alien, really. Basically.
Kind of.
They go down to the surface, they find something weird, they end up with an alien on their ship, there's an alien hunting them in the ship. Yeah. Probably most of the people die. There's a final girl. He doesn't have much of a budget, but it's only 45 minutes.
The Wall People sees Dr. Edwards and Dr. Gabriel from the giant spider summoned to the home of fellow scientist Barney Collins. All scientists, they know each other.
Yes. They all get on the science phone.
Yeah. A recluse since the mysterious disappearance of his son 8 years earlier, Collins worries his friends with his declaration that he believes an alien force abducted his son and is kidnapping children from all over the world. Their concern becomes fear, however, when they realize that Collins might be right.
They were concerned before when they thought he was lying.
They just thought he's like, he's probably snapped, he's not feeling well, we should probably get him some help. And like, oh wait, no, this actually might be aliens.
Okay.
Alright, that's it for the late night double feature. Next we have it. Danny Johnson Saves the World from 2015.
Ooh, I love that.
Now, if you may not remember, Danny Johnson was the little boy from the one with the bat and the one with the spider.
Okay, yeah. So, does he have more insects to deal with?
Bats are not insects, nor are spiders.
Listen, Mr. Science, put down the science phone and talk to me.
The story is told in flashback by an elderly Danny Johnson to amuse his grandchildren at Christmas.
Okay.
He recalls the events of one of the many times he saved the world. In this case, he thwarted the efforts of a diminutive race of aliens armed with an invincible killer robot from brainwashing the children of Earth as a precursor to an invasion.
You know, I haven't heard one single one of these ideas that I thought, yeah, that's a terrible movie. And this one is no different. Like, because not only does it give you it's a standard type of movie that he's doing already, but it gives you the excuse to have the movie go like super ridiculous places, and then you can say, well, he's just telling the story, so he embellished it a little bit.
Yep. And you could do like the whole Princess Bride where it cuts back to the kids being like, Grandpa, did that really happen?
Yeah. I'm digging this. I love the way this guy is sort of stretching his creative legs as he makes movies about spaceships made out of corkboard. Or not corkboard, we're the ones with the holes. Pegboard.
Yeah. Next we have the title that led me down the rabbit trail of wanting to do this episode.
Okay.
Weresquito, Nazi Hunter.
My
2016.
Goodness. Okay.
No.
Wow. Wow. I predict that this will be the one where his special effects budget is the most inadequate.
The film largely stands apart from the rest of the Mihmverse, being much darker in tone than Mihm's earlier films and mostly taking place in the town of New Berlin, Wisconsin.
I was on board until they said New Berlin. I'm like, it can't be that dark if you're going to have Nazis in New Berlin, Wisconsin.
This is like the first one that's like on Earth that's not in Wisconsin, in Phantom Lake, which is interesting.
Okay. I guess there is that removal of, okay, well, this is going to take place in a not this silly world that I have been inhabiting.
This is the same universe,
same
but
universe,
it's,
right.
It's on the fun 1950s B-movie town.
Although I will point out, I'm looking at the poster, and it says, it is presented in shocking plasmoscope. So, there's still some fun. And it also says, it also claims to be the most controversial film ever made.
I mean, these movies had a lot of those things on them.
Oh yeah, no, I'm on board, I'm just saying.
Nevertheless, it is in the same universe through a surprising connection that is only revealed at the end of the picture.
This guy saw Split, and he was like, oh, I could do that. But everybody saw it coming, because every single one of his movies is in the same universe, so it's not quite the twist.
It feels like the twist is going to be like, I guess this one isn't. Oh, wait, no, there's X from the other movie. Or it's like, I'm going to go retire to Phantom Lake.
Bum, bum, bum.
The movie centers upon Corporal John Baker, an American soldier and prisoner of war who was held captive and experimented on by the Nazis during World War II. The experiments chained Corporal Barker so that whenever he sees blood, he transforms to a half-man, half-mosquito hybrid and is compelled to feed.
So this is like the evil version of Captain America?
I guess.
I mean, he's experimented on by the good guys to make a super soldier. This guy is captured, experimented on by the Nazis, turns into insect monster that can't stop himself from feeding on blood.
Mm-hmm. Now he uses his newfound power to hunt down those responsible for his condition, as well as any other evildoers that get in his way. As the movie opens, Corporal Baker has come to New Berlin, Wisconsin in search of Dr. Schramm, the mad scientist who made him into a monster.
So he's like a werewolf that uses his powers for good. He sort of like aims himself at people he doesn't like and throws blood on them so he hulks out.
He's Ghost Rider.
Okay.
He befriends a woman named Liesl, who runs the local diner and steps in when her ex-boyfriend Eric tries to force his way back into her life. The promise of romance fills the air, but can Liesl love the man within the beast?
Okay. I'm digging this one. There's a lot of like, cause I don't know how often, what's his name? The werewolf, Larry Talbot, had any romantic prospects. Like he usually seemed pretty,
There was one in the first one. I don't think there was anyone in the second one. There was the one gypsy girl that made Daniel mad.
Right.
And
But this guy's been a mosquito for a while now, or whatever the man-squito thing that he turns into. This is not a new deal. He's been dealing with it, and so he comes to town and he's like, listen, you don't want to deal with me. I've got baggage. And she's like, oh, but you're so handsome. Or whatever.
No, seriously, you do not want to deal with me.
And then he turns into a mosquito and she's like, well, you're right. You know what? I thought my ex was bad. I called him.
You did try to warn me, so I guess. And he's like, no, seriously, stop. Lady. I barely have a face at the time.
I can't wait to see the prosthetics for this. I think I'm going to end up watching these, especially if quarantine goes on much longer.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Demon with the Atomic Brain from 2017.
Another great title.
An attempt to weaponize a machine capable of opening portals to other worlds fails, and instead creates an exponentially expanding bubble of fractured space-time.
What the heck? This guy has so much ambition with these story ideas. Yeah, but how do you think? I have this vision of what this stuff looks like as this bubble takes over, and there's no way he's executing anything like that whatsoever. But daggum, is that a good premise? Wow.
A team of specialists must enter the disturbance and make their way down a rabbit hole of increasingly more dangerous alternate realities in the hopes of finding and shutting down the machine which created it.
That's so cool! This is the best one! So far, anyway. Just as a story idea of we have all these cascading stories, and he's already doing this, right? He's got this whole sort of interlocking movie universe, and now he's sending these people into this expanding, interlocked story universe it's blowing my mind how good of an idea this is.
However, someone or something seems determined to stop them before the bubble engulfs the entire universe itself.
Well, okay,
so
they want to stop them before the... I'm confused. They're trying to stop the bubble from engulfing the whole universe, right?
Yeah.
So this person is trying to stop them before they stop it, before it engulfs the... I'm gonna say that...
spreading and is engulfing all things.
Right.
They want it to, not. And they're presumably wearing something that prevents them from being affected by the alternate realities. Whoever or whatever this is doesn't want them to shut off the machine and wants this cascade of realities to happen for a reason.
I'm trying to remember, because I'm trying to figure out sort of what his inspiration is. When you said this bubble that changes reality, I immediately thought Annihilation.
So did I.
Annihilation didn't come out till 2018. But it came out early 2018, so maybe he saw the trailer and he's like, I'm gonna do one of those. And I'll get it out.
Well, there's that, but also, isn't it based on a book?
Well, okay, yes, but in the book, it's not as clearly a bubble thing. There's just some kind of a boundary that may or may not exist that people pass through to get to the weirdness area. So, the idea of it being specifically a bubble, visually, I'm not saying he stole it. I don't want to, because I love it so much. And even if he did steal it, he didn't do exactly the same thing as Annihilation did. But, I'm, that's a connection my brain cannot help but make. We're almost to the present day, Brantley. 2 more movies to go. What do we got?
This is probably one of the weaker titles in my opinions. We have Guns of the Apocalypse.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a pretty good poster. I'm looking at the poster.
Set sometime after the events of the late-night double feature, an unnamed man returns to Earth from the colony on Alpha Centauri to find an Earth devastated by nuclear war.
Man, the way he ties all this stuff together is so cool.
Mm-hmm. Forced into a world of danger and bloodshed after he saves a scientist and a gifted child from a horde of radiation-scarred mutants.
Okay, well, all this is just sort of standard post-apocalypse stuff.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mad Max riff, but probably not with as many car stunts or any car stunts, because let's be real.
Though he would prefer to stay hidden until he can escape to a new life, something about the child and the murderous death dealers hunting her makes him realize he has no choice but to protect her or risk being responsible for the potential extinction of the human race.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. It might be a fine, or I mean, This guy's been making movies at this point for more than 10 years, one a year. Maybe he's gotten pretty good at it. But like from a description / concept point of view, this is sort of one of the more straightforward ones.
Yeah, it's pretty paint by numbers apocalypse story.
The only thing that's really interesting to me is the way that it connects. The fact that he's established, this person went out to, make this outpost on some place that's way far away. Now somebody comes back, and obviously lots of time has passed, possibly because they're traveling close to the speed of light, so you get a time dilation thing, or maybe it's just been a long time. That is fun, but everything else is just okay.
Alright. Now the final movie, so far, he might make another one this year.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Queen of Snakes. 2019.
So, is this a sequel to King of the Universe?
I don't know.
I mean, it wasn't called King of the Universe, but that one alien was called the King of the Universe.
This is a weird film series.
Yes.
It is the first of Mihm's films to be fully rendered in color, in contrast to his earlier films, which were all monochrome. Which is kind of a bummer.
Maybe he figured out a good way to simulate that sort of hyperchromatic, sort of vivid color pop thing that was around when colors were, sort of a new thing.
Wizard of Oz and all that.
Yeah, maybe not even so much Wizard of Oz, but in the 60s, color was still being worked on. And so some of the ways that came out was a little bit weird.
Set sometime after the events of The Giant Spider, the film focuses on the reclusive Mrs. Crawford.
Okay, is she the Queen of the Snakes?
Embittered at the world after being paralyzed by her daughter, Mrs. Crawford has little to occupy her time beyond listening to the local gossips and interfering in her daughter's love life, which is limited to increasingly infrequent dates with a man named Henry.
Okay.
This changes after a package is accidentally delivered to the Crawford residence, containing an amulet that gives Mrs. Crawford a connection to an ancient Norse goddess known as the Queen of Snakes.
That was not a twist that I saw coming. Okay, busybody lady, maybe she gets a snake hobby or something, starts murdering people with snakes. How paralyzed is she? Can she, waist down or neck down?
I'm assuming wheelchair.
Okay, so she can move her arms around and, dial the phone.
Yeah.
I think.
That's that gossip.
Yeah, okay.
This leads to various shenanigans as Mrs. Crawford starts to use her control of a monstrous snake woman to spy on her daughter's suitor and his other woman.
Okay. I gotta say it's kind of a petty use of the snake power.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I will say it's she's kind of a petty person. She gets the snake power.
It probably escalates.
Yeah, it probably does.
She finds out that he's got another woman, probably kills the other woman, and then eventually him, and then just starts murdering people who have wronged her.
Yeah, this one though, it seems except for the Norse connection, which is really cool, and I've just found a screenshot where I can see the prosthetic that they've used on this person, and that looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
Happy enough with that. But, it seems kind of, the collision of the fantastical and the banal could be great, or it could be disappointing. And I don't know this is actually one where you have to see the execution of it.
It's again interesting because this one and The Ghost are really the only ones where fantasy comes into play. Except maybe that prophecy for the cave woman on Mars.
But the thing that's amazing about that is that now you can have a Norse goddess show up on Alpha Centauri in the 2020 film. So that's pretty cool. The fact
it's gonna be interesting to see how this ties into the universe going forward.
Exactly. I hope that Mr. Mihm continues making this. I will say we'll probably end up splitting this episode into two because it's now gone on for more than a solid hour on recording.
Yep.
And even with editing, I think that this can probably be a couple of episodes. But I've really enjoyed going on this journey with you, Brintley, and hearing about how this guy's ambition to make this universe has evolved and how he stuck with it. I really come around to this idea. Now, I haven't watched any of these, so maybe I'll change my mind. But as it stands right now, I am on Christopher Mihm's side. I love this idea of sort of, I have this dream, I'm gonna work on these films, I'm gonna make them, I'm gonna keep going. People make these kinds of, plans for themselves, and it's tough to stick to them. And sometimes sticking to them is a bad idea, right? Like, maybe the fact that he's still going says something negative about Christopher Mihm. And I don't know. But from where I'm sitting right now, with the knowledge that I have, I dig it a lot. And I really appreciate you bringing it up to us. Thank you.
Now, this sounds like a stupid and pointless question. Which of these is your favorite sounding?
Oh, man. I liked the Moon Zombies idea.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the one about the guy, ending up lost in space. For some reason, that one's popping up. I'm just trying to think of which ones really sort of stuck out to me. So I like that idea, especially because it's a sequel, right? So we're getting him after something that had already happened to him. We got that, the court-martial thing we always dreamed of in a movie, the person sees consequences. There's something there in my mind in that character of how he evolves and how he impacts this world that is really interesting to me. But they're all doing something. Oh, and okay, I don't know how I forgot this, but obviously the real answer is the one with the bubble eating the world and changing the stories and making everything into shattered new realities that they keep going into. Dang,
that's my favorite story idea. That's the one I have the most concern of for being pulled off.
Oh yeah, that's true. But from a you tell me the story of what it is and I react, I think thinking back through them, there's so many of them too. And because I'm so dumb, it's actually hard to keep all of them in my head. But that's where I think I'm coming down. And this is where I think we must end the movie. Or the story, the episode, Brantley.
No.
We've been recording for an hour, and I've stopped being able to think. And my wife is ready for me to come inside and eat the dinner she's cooked. So,
okay.
We will see all of you guys next time. If you enjoyed this, tell a friend about us. Spread the word, or don't. Just keep listening. I hope that you're holding up throughout these very interesting times. I bet if you have, in fact, I know for a fact, if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you can go on their video service and check out the films of Christopher Mihm. I'm just going to double check that really quick here. I'm 99% positive. Yes, you can watch The Monster of Phantom Lake as a Prime Video, and possibly many, many more of these. And so I recommend that you do that and see if they're as good as they held up to be. As good as that sentence didn't make any sense. Bye! We're done!
Bye, guys.